shows in New Mexico and beyond. She is also a playwright and performed a one-woman show called Shine, Happy Shine, and recently wrote a second play, Does This Make Me Delusional?, which she hopes.
What if justice wasn't just about systems, but about the soul? Welcome to the Spiritual Justice Show with me, Eric S. Lee. You've heard me say it before. For too long, we thought restorative justice alone could save us. But repairing harm without changing systems doesn't end the cycle. Social justice fights for equity, but without spirit, the work becomes a grind. Transformative justice seeks culture change, but without compassion, it struggles to hold. Spiritual justice completes the circle. It heals the heart while changing the system. It restores dignity while shifting culture. It brings spirit back into justice. Each week, I'll bring together leaders, healers, and change makers to explore a new vision of justice, restorative, transformative, and deeply spiritual. And people like you, spiritual justice warriors who choose courage, compassion, and creativity in action. Welcome back, everyone. I am Eric S. Lee, host of the Spiritual Justice Show. I am so excited. I get to hang out with a couple good friends of mine here in Chaffee County, Clark and Kenny. And in this episode of the Spiritual Justice Show, where inner peace meets collective purpose, we welcome these two leaders who embody what it means to invest in the next generation with consistency, humility, and heart. Kenny Wilcox and Clark Quattrocchi, sorry if I messed that up, Clark, of FYI in Chaffee County, Colorado. Kenny is the coordinator of FYI's Adult to Youth Mentoring Program. He's been changing young people for what he jokingly calls his entire alleged adult life. Once told in high school that he would someday be a coach, he has grown into exactly that. Someone who sees potential, calls it forward, and walks alongside youth with steadiness and belief. His deep love for family and community shines through in the way he approaches mentorship, not as a program, but as a relationship. Clark, coordinator for the Youth in Action program, carries that same spirit of connection into his work with middle schoolers and pre-kinders, creating spaces where mentorship flows both ways and leadership is cultivated early. Whether he's out on the river, the trails, or the slope, Clark brings an energy of movement and engagement into his work, reminding us that growth happens through shared experience. For the past 18 years, FYI has been strengthening Chaffee County through prevention, connection, and community collaboration, serving families, youth, and the broader community. FYI's personalized approach blends evidence-based programs with something equally powerful, human connection. Their youth programs provide safe, nurturing environments where young people develop the skills, confidence, and a sense of belonging, which is something we always talk about and focus on here on the Spiritual Justice Show. Kenny and Clark, welcome and thank you so much for joining me today. When you guys agreed to come last week and do the show with me, I was so excited. I was so happy. And then when I dug into your bios a little bit, I was even more excited just knowing you and talking to you both about the work you do. You kind of embody the spirit of what we try to do here and try to promote at the Spiritual Justice Show, which is identifying youth and showing them the best of themselves as adults, right? As adult mentors. So how you guys doing today?
Man, we're thrilled to be on this show, Eric. I mean, like, we figured we have to like hit some celebrity status point to make it. We're just ecstatic to be here with you.
Well, you hit it. You know, you hit it. You hit it right before I walked into the office. It's like there was a light flashing outside your office, right?
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. We're looking forward to chatting and sharing about our programs and connecting more. Always a pleasure to get to talk with you.
Yeah, and you guys, sometimes me and Dr. Pat is kind of the brainchild of all of this for me. and she's a Seattle Seahawks fan. So there's
Oh,
always some sports talk. So, the last February episode, she was filling her oats about the NFL.
whoa,
But
I
Kenny
bet.
and I, we can't boast so much about that right now. So we're going to stick to
No.
the youth today.
I mean, Seattle's had a great year, man. I tell you what, if you're talking baseball or football, whew.
Yep,
Sorry,
that's
Eric.
true.
I'm an
We'll,
Arizona guy, so
we'll,
it's a rough year, but I'll stick with them, and we'll catch up to those Seahawks sooner or later.
we'll bounce back. Okay, let's dive in, guys. You guys ready to share with the world the wonderful work that you guys and I titled you guys the mentorship masters for this show, because that's how I look at you both. And
We'll
so,
take that title.
okay, good. So let's start off by letting you just take a couple minutes and talk about the organization and your programs. And let's start, Kenny. Why don't you start, and then Clark, when he's done, you can kind of give your perspective on that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Early 2000s, there was some folks in our communities that here in Chaffee County that realized the need for mentorship. And, not surprisingly, some of those folks had some very poignant mentors in their lives growing up. And just, again, they saw that gap, and they began the process and laying the foundation and the groundwork for what is Chaffee County Mentors, Youth in Action, and then therefore family and youth initiatives, which is where we fall in. And primarily what we do, these days, people want to throw money and resources towards certain programs, things like that, which there's a place for that. But again, as you kind of already alluded to, is the most important thing for us is we need people to have those interactions and begin to bring out and bring forth those just that spark within each of us that maybe just needs to be uncovered and unburied a little bit. And particularly for the adult to youth mentoring program, that's happening in a one-on-one relationship.
That's great. Thanks for sharing. Just a little bit more about how this spark for this show came with me. It was like, the premise is this: there's like so many spiritual seekers out there. There's so many good people who are, they're meditating, they're going on these retreats, they're doing silence for 3 days at a time, and they just can't seem to get that last click of enlightenment to know that they're there. And then, my question is, maybe that last spark is not a meditation, it's not a chant, it's not a mantra. It's actually reaching out and mentoring a young person and sharing your path with them. And so you can both share that and identify the inherent value that you see in those young people, which is going to bring us all along and take us all to a higher ground in our community and as a society. So thank you for sharing that. And just to let you know, I just shared that because I just want you guys to know that you embody exactly what we're about here. So thanks for that.
Awesome. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, Eric. Just in terms of, I think a lot of our mentors, I think they're kind of surprised by what they find when they begin that mentoring relationship. And, they come into it maybe with a different idea of what it might be for them. And then in turn, yeah, it really gets flipped around on them in terms of that spiritual connection, maybe that missing piece that you're talking about that they didn't even know they were looking for.
Great. Thanks for sharing. Clark, jump on in.
Yeah, and I'll keep echoing some of that. I'm just blown away by the individuals in our community that are looking to give back, and they really empower me to come to work and be excited to work and support them to kind of give back to the community and help out some kids that are looking for a trusted adult in their life. However, my mentoring looks a little bit different. I do a peer-to-peer program within the schools called Youth in Action. And that's been long-standing in the community. I think it's been around for, maybe 20 years. And I really feel proud to get to still represent it and keep it running strong. But essentially out of Salida and BV, we have middle schoolers that are matched up with preschoolers. And it's a great leadership opportunity for these middle schoolers to connect with these preschoolers. They see them once a week. They help in a handful of different ways. They do a lot of social emotional learning. We do some basic math and reading skills with them, and just really an opportunity for these middle schoolers to be looked up to and kind of step into these leadership roles that they might have never had before in their life. With that, we additionally have some high school helpers that have kind of transitioned out of middle school that are still with the program. And those are paid positions for these kids that just really believe in the program and kind of creates a trickle-down mentoring system within this program. So we're rolling strong. We have about 2 more months of programming. It goes year-round, and they're meeting every night. We'll have a meeting tonight where the Chaffee County Fire will come and talk a little bit about fire safety and check out the fire truck.
That's great. You know, that's kind of cutting edge, and again, it strikes to the heart of it. It's all important, and to go in and say, okay, we're going to take the young people, and like I said earlier, kind of identify in them their special talents and abilities, and to be able to have them identify themselves as mentors in middle school. That is just fantastic and a great head start, because it's like, are you guys familiar with Viktor Frankl? That book, I think I talked to you about it before, Kenny. He wrote a book, Man's Search for Meaning, and one of his big things, he was a psychologist, and he was like, couch therapy, all that stuff, it's kind of effective, but the most effective way to really get people to heal is to get them to align with their purpose and meaning. And so, and for me, it's kind of a philosophy that I carry in restorative justice. And if we can point young people to, and they don't have to have it all figured out, but if you can point them to the fact that they do have a purpose and meaning, and they do have individual special skills and abilities to serve that purpose and meaning, then their lives start to take shape earlier, and they're less likely to get into some of the things that draw restorative justice in, later on, because they're plugged in and contributing to the community early on. So to have a youth mentorship program, that just really dives right into that. So thank you very much for that work that both of you doing that way.
Yeah, there's something really profound there too, Eric. Just with the work that Clark's doing in Youth in Action is, the average age of those preschoolers is about 4 years old. And what's amazing, just even at that early age, that interaction that they're getting, a lot of those kids turn around and want to become mentors when they're in middle school. So, now they're, this might be like 8 years later, and they remember that experience and that time that they had with their middle school mentor when they were 4 years old. And now they want to be a part of that.
Yeah, that is fantastic. And it's just like, again, it's like, some people early on with us in the Spiritual Justice Show with that concept of identifying youth early and showing them towards purposes, meaning it sounds like a great theory, but it's not theory. It's backed up by data and statistics and actual qualitative work that you folks are doing out there, which is just wonderful. So again, appreciate it.
Yeah, so it's all evidence-based programming and proven to be a preventative factor in the lives of these family and youth we engage with.
Okay, so let's take a minute here, and there's going to be people out here who are getting jazzed up, and they're going to want to just say, "Oh yeah, I was thinking about this. This is the thing that's going to push me over the edge." Tell the viewers out there how to get a hold of you and get involved if they're interested in it, inspired by us today.
Good. Yeah. I hope there's some people getting a little electrical jolt up their backside right now. So yeah, probably there's a couple of ways that you can find us. We have offices on both ends of the county. In Buena Vista, we're just across from the library there. There's a group of offices. It's Linderman Avenue, 114. I think I'm getting that right. 114 Linderman. So we have an office there. In Salida, we have an office at the Tower Building, the old hospital. So that's 448 East 1st Street. Second floor, if you can find the Department of Motor Vehicles, you can probably find us. If you can't, just ask somebody. And then, beyond that, what's interesting with us, Eric, is our programs, we fall underneath the county government, interestingly enough. which is a pretty amazing thing that as a county years ago, Chaffee County said, we want to be involved with programs such as this, such as mentoring. And so they've come behind that and supported us, found ways to keep us floating. So we didn't always have to be constantly figuring out how we're going to be funded or if we're going to have an office space. And so no matter what you think of the government, right? Like our government is doing some great things and saying we think prevention, we think mentorship is important. So you can actually go to the Chaffee County government website and find family youth initiatives under the departments tab. And then you can navigate through there and find us there as well.
So your emails are there as well.
Yes.
Yep. Correct.
Yeah. And in there you can kind of learn about the program. And additionally, we have the online application. If you're really jazzed about becoming a mentor, you can dig into that. I'll ask some background questions, and that really sets in motion all the steps we take to make sure you're prepared to be a great mentor and have realistic expectations and make sure we check our boxes and get you out there.
Okay, great. And so let's more personal. What was it that really drove you to take on your position with FYI as mentors?
Yeah. I'm sure both of us will have varied answers here, but there'll also be some similarities. I think for me, couple summers in my college years, I was actually heading towards becoming a veterinarian. That was my initial choice, and then I was a camp counselor for a couple summers out in Colorado. Iowa boy, drove out 1,000 miles from home. My good friend who encouraged me to do it didn't come with me. I couldn't believe it, but here I am serving as a camp counselor here in the Rockies. Actually, we were over just in the Sangres more specifically, but rafting, mountain climbing every week. And I was just blown away by how quickly and how much young people were changing within a short span of time of like a week was what we were working with at that time. And again, we keep coming back to this, but seeing these young people unlock things about themselves they didn't know previously, just seeing them come alive in those different ways. I was like, I got to switch. I'm jumping out of becoming a veterinarian. I'm going to go from one type of animal to a different animal, in the human side. And I had to find a way to get more involved that way.
Great story. Thank you for that. And my wife told me to tell you, go Hawks, by the way.
All right.
She is an Iowa girl. We are a Big Ten family. We got Michigan, Iowa this week, so we are sleeping in separate bedrooms for the week over, but it'll all be okay.
I got to feel like Michigan's going to probably get the better of that
I got
one. But
money on the Wolverines.
Well, they got nothing to play for right now, though, so we never know.
True.
You never know.
They don't want to lose to Iowa. That's what they got to play for.
No, they don't. That's right. All right, Clark.
Yeah, a little bit on my background and how I ended up here. I just have had, years of kind of working with youth as a swim coach in high school to many different hats kind of through college, working at the university, managing their outdoor program and working with different nonprofits that were kind of focused around just new opportunities for youth that maybe didn't know about camping or the river and really seeing the power of showing opportunity and new things and kind of seeing those light bulbs turn on in kids' heads and see them kind of start following these paths. I worked with coaching mountain biking and kind of worked my way with varying age groups and kind of saw the power of working with really young kids in the kindergarten program all the way through high school. And I had found myself in Salida working at the middle school, kind of after getting my master's in educational leadership through Colorado Mesa University. And within that position, I was kind of working towards becoming a teacher and within the library, I would see this group of kids come through, excited about mentoring, talking about it, kind of hearing from them. And I started learning a little bit more about this program. And sure enough, this position opened up, and it just aligns so well with so many things I believe in, of just getting kids new opportunities, kind of giving them those additional supports to build them up to kind of take off in life. And it's been a great 2 years with the program. I really enjoy to get to impact the youth and kind of support these programs and keep building them up and see how they change and kind of see some of these kids grow up within the program. So it's just been a great fit, and I'm excited to continue my work here. And that's kind of the quick gist of how I ended up here and why it kind of resonates with me and why I'm happy in this position.
All right, great. All right, out there, you are watching the Spiritual Justice Show. I am your host, Eric S. Lee. We are here with Kenny Wilcox and Clark Quattrocchi of Family Youth Initiatives here in Chaffee County, FYI. And they are the embodiment of the Spiritual Justice Show, where we say this is where inner peace meets collective consciousness and collective processes for uplifting our youth. So we got a little bit of time before we take a break here. Let's talk a little bit more about the dark side that can happen with the work. What are some of the obstacles and challenges you guys face in doing the work that you do?
Well, anybody that's been around any time, like you're working with people, right? And so you can just imagine anything that may be involved with a person that's walking through life. There can be an incredible number of just challenges that our young people face, anywhere from homelessness to food insecurities to just being an adolescent trying to grow up here in Chaffee County specifically. There's a lot of challenges that way. And so, again, that's where providing a mentor that can come along, be a source of support for these young people is just tremendous. Because, we've all walked through that whole adolescent side thing at one point in our lives. And some of that stuff still probably feels pretty close and raw. And we can relate to those young people.
Great.
And being newer with the program, it just really correlated with me, just the challenge of relationship building and connecting with the school districts and the mentors and the youth we're trying to support. Just felt a little bit like drinking from the fire hose. And I kind of jumped into this position, and that first year felt, that we're kind of building up the plane, but we're already in the air. And really, you just stick with it and you work through those challenges that present them stuff, and you take it one step at a time. And I'm happy to say I kind of have that time under my belt, and there's challenges every day, but that's why we're in this work, and we hit them head on and try to get creative with solutions and work through whatever comes up.
Yeah, and I think it's important for us too, Eric, just to like how we view and approach those challenges. Not seeing them as a negative thing, but more as like, hey, we're close to some growth right now. Like this is it might be a little bit painful, but we're also getting to where we actually want to get to.
Great. Thank you. Now let's go to the flip side. Give me like one example of something that just made your heart soar. What is a great success that you can reflect on it, and maybe one of the things that when you're ready to just lay it down and go, okay, I can't go another day of this, and you go, oh, but that. Share with our viewers some of that.
Yeah, Clark was just looking up at the ceiling for a reason. If you were to walk into our room today, yeah, you'd see 3 of these pretty good sized remote control airplanes. And this is a story we share a lot, but it's close to our hearts, and it's intentionally hung from our ceilings. This one came about, kind of give you the origin of where these planes came from. Years ago, we had a middle schooler that was, kind of in a position in life where he was he was needing a mentor, could have just used that little extra piece in his life. I think school was a struggle for him in that moment. Life in general was a struggle in that moment. And he wasn't really engaged in really many aspects of school or school life. And we found a gentleman in our community that was literally a rocket scientist, and they both could absolutely nerd out on physics. We found that one common bond, and I think the mentor would tell you to this day those early hangouts were awkward. There wasn't a lot of eye contact. Not a lot necessarily was going on and happening in that. But they kept meeting through that consistent, week to week meeting time over the course of, weeks and days and months. They built this relationship, and before you know it, the mentee is spending time at the mentor's house doing physics homework. His friends are coming to the mentor's house for pizza and doing physics homework. They're launching model rockets. Wow. And they graduate up to some smaller planes, and then they get to these larger planes that are hanging from our ceiling now. The cool part of that story is that young man is now a jet mechanic for the U.S. And he's been stationed in Aviano, Italy, for the majority of his time. But it's one of those things where you can't help but think the trajectory of that young man would be perhaps significantly different had that relationship not come to be.
That's great. Thank you, Clark. We're going to pick you up on the other side. We're going to take a short break here. You are watching the Spiritual Justice Show. I'm your host, Eric S. Lee. If you want to get a hold of me, there's a couple different ways. We have a Facebook page, The Spiritual Justice Show. If you want to find out more information about the work we do here at Full Circle Restorative Justice, go to fullcirclerj.org, or you can email me, eric.lee@fullcirclerj.org. And we also have a new spiritual justice website, spiritualjustice.net. So see you on the other side. Thank you for watching. See you in a bit.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Pat. I'm the host of the Dr. Pat Show, and I am the creator of the Transformation Network, doing what we do in the world of positive radio, informed, educated, positive media. Independent radio hosts and independent networks have been the face of positive messaging over the past decade. So all of us here have decided we're going to put together an independent network that is going to enable people to bring their positive message of hope, inspiration, and conscious action to the forefront. Help us create a future of amazing, uplifting stories that can be told so we can tell our children and they can tell their children of what hope and conscious action is all about.
I want to thank you all for tuning us in, turning us on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Looking for more love, joy, and purpose in your life? Lisa Eve is here to guide you. Through intuitive support, healing, and soulful travel, she empowers you to embrace self-love as the key to happiness.
Do you want to better?
Are you ready to heal your mind, body, and soul?
Spiritual Justice Show. We're here with Kenny and Clark from Family Youth Initiatives, FYI, here in Chaffey County. We are talking about mentorship because these two gentlemen are the mentorship masters. When we left off, Kenny shared with us a great success that we have, and I want to give Clark the opportunity to share something that he might have experienced as well, or maybe, because that story was so good, that was just the pinnacle of what you guys have seen. Clark, is there anything you'd like to share as well?
Yeah, that one's pretty powerful. So I'll do my best to follow up, but I'll just say that it's great to look up and check out these model airplanes and kind of see it as a good reason to keep going and as one of those great success stories. I'll talk a little bit on the other side of the peer-to-peer mentoring and just working with these middle schoolers that have gone through the program as kindergartners, and they come up to me and just say, man, I think back and it's the only thing I can think of when I think about being in preschool. And it was the most powerful, special thing having that older middle schooler to connect with and take that time to learn and share time and memories together. And they're so willing and excited to give back and give that experience to preschoolers, which is happening right now within Salida and BV schools. Additionally, just a powerful moment with our high school helpers, who some are going off to college, getting to kind of write out scholarships for them and recommendation letters, and just writing about how much they care about the community and believe in mentorship and have stuck with the program for so long, and to see the response and success of having those stories behind their time within the community, just kind of is an added layer of, oh man, this is so powerful, and I'm so grateful to have these opportunities with these youth.
Yeah, it is. You just triggered a memory of mine. I remember I must have been in fourth or fifth grade, and one of my friends in the neighborhood's parents, for some reason, they couldn't take the kid to school that day. Um, and they didn't trust the kid to keep the lunch money, da da da. And they asked me, well, can you keep this lunch money? And right before lunch period, take it down to his classroom to make sure that they have their lunch money for the day. And I just remember, the sense of caring and responsibility that I had for another person filled me with a pride that day that I got to contribute that way. And so, you guys, Clark, especially with your program with the youth, you get to take that and give that to these young people um, times 100, because it's not just a 1 day thing. This is something that they can take on. How long do they take on and sign up to be mentorship for the younger kids when they do?
Yeah, so it's kind of a process. I go into the schools kind of late August, early September, and pitch out the program. And then there's a pretty extensive application that they fill out and work through, and we go through that. And once we have a batch of 12 kids, and we usually get a lot more applications than that, but we really read through who's really committed, who's willing to be here for the year. We do a long afternoon training, kind of get them ready. And then I think just learning through doing is the real power. And they hang out the entirety of the school year once a week. And you see week by week, they just continue to grow these skills and connect with these preschoolers. I find it by the end of the year, they're going to know these preschoolers better than I ever could with all this one-on-one time that they're getting together.
Right. That's great. So listen, this is the question that came to me from you guys, and it's really an important. What is the evidence that this stuff really works? What is the evidence that mentorship actually works?
Yeah, there are so many statistics, just evidence-wise, and I might not get all the numbers right, so I might not even just say the numbers, but basically there you can look at, from a young person's standpoint in terms of their just showing up to school, like that, those numbers go way up when they're being mentored. Those young people are much more likely to lead in their community when they have a mentor. Our favorite one is, I think this one's like 90% or even higher. If you've been mentored in your life, you're more likely to become a mentor later on. And then you can just get into all the statistics in terms of just substance use, and like those numbers go down for kids that have been mentored. So the numbers, there's a lot of them. They're pretty profound and significant. I haven't seen a single negative number go up because of mentoring. So and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we're going to really vet our mentors, and we're making sure that these are really high quality people that are safe. And because again, what we're doing is pretty unique, Eric, in the terms of like, we're saying we want you to go do one-on-one stuff. That doesn't happen just anywhere in our communities. And so that one-on-one time becomes just magnified in that setting that's been created.
So thank you for that, and thank you for the opportunity to open that conversation that way, because I talked to Monica, the director of DHS, who kind of oversees you guys' program. And one of the big things with DHS is everything they do, all the funding they receive, anything that they say we're going to do this has to be evidence-based. And so, we're here because we're the cheerleaders. Well, we're the players too, right? It's like, but still, we're also big advocates for this work that we do because we believe in it so much, because we believe it, we work it, we see it, we feel it, we're energized by it, we're inspired by it, and all those things are great. But there's hard data, is what you're saying. That's saying we're excited about this from our hearts. But if you look at the science, the social science behind it, this is legit.
Right. Yeah, we're so glad there's people that like collect that. I mean, we collect some data, but then on a broader scale, those folks that are in that work, that's important work too, that really just helps validate and back up what we do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And then the next question, and I'm glad this question came up as well. In your experience, what have you learned? What are the types of qualities or characteristics that make someone mentor material? What is that?
Do you want to take this one, Clark?
I'll let Kenny start, but I'll add on in there.
Yeah, what makes someone mentor material? And I think this is where some people can get it a little off, is they may think they need to have some special training or background experience. They might think they need to have been a teacher or had kids of their own even. And those are fine things, and we'll certainly entertain someone that has a background in teaching, or they had they raised 12 kids of their own. But really for us, the main qualities for someone coming in is just this deep sense of, man, I really want to invest back into somebody else's life. And so it's a bit of a trick question in terms of you don't have to come with this great resume that's going to blow us off our feet, but you do really need to have some time, and we'll talk a little bit more about that too. But you have to have some time. You have to genuinely want to care and invest into another person's life. And in terms of the time factor, we often like to talk about it from the framework of a mentor doesn't have to go recreate two hours during their week to be a great mentor. They can bring that young person, tuck them under their wing, and continue to do the things that they love to do, right? If that's skateboarding or crocheting or knitting or artwork or music or whatever it might be, we just encourage them to do life together. And that's when the magic really begins to happen.
Yeah, and I'll just add on to that. I think that Kenny made some great points, and I just want to say that commitment piece is really the biggest part. Are you willing to stick through maybe the tough times and some of the tests that might come up, and just kind of work through the challenges? And Eric, the thing is these mentors have so many different backgrounds and experiences, and they have just so many different things. I can't say this is one that every single mentor has, or every mentor does this. Our mentors show up and they're committed to the process. And if you're interested in being a mentor, there's a kid out there that you could make an impact on.
I think it's funny too, Eric. Some of our mentors might come to us and be like, they may share something from their past and be like, well, does that disqualify me? And, obviously there are certain things that could, But more often than not, it's like, man, I just think that's going to help you become a better mentor.
Right. Those life experiences that make people empathetic and accessible, are just golden. You
Yeah.
guys brought up, I wrote a book, 29 Degrees: How to Live a Life of Inner Peace, Joy, and Purpose Regardless of Circumstances. This is a shameless plug for me. It just came available on Audible, so
All
everybody
right.
out there, go out to Audible and find 29 Degrees. But one of the
Do
things I talk about, because I talk about different aspects of life as it relates to inner peace. And that whole thing with, I'm a father of four, and I made a lot of mistakes as a father of four. And I made different mistakes with one than I did with three.
that.
And one of the things that I learned, and this came directly from my kid, well, a couple of them who are expressive that way, is, yeah, we get it. You screwed that up, but you were there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You never wavered. There was never a time where we felt dad is not here. Of course, yeah, I had to work late one night, or I had to go on a trip and not be there, and I missed something. But 95% of the things was there because my biggest commitment was to be there as a father.
Yeah.
And kids, that is the hardest thing for them to forgive, when there's just a lack of commitment to be there and present in their lives. And so
Right.
mentorship, to me, what you're saying is like, you don't have to be a perfect human. You may make mistakes as a mentor. We're going to train you and get you as prepared as possible. But your willingness to commit to be a part of this young person's life is the main impactful, inspiring thing that you can do for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say it better ourselves.
Yep. Yeah, I think I'd be more concerned if you've just lived in a bubble your whole life, right? And we're like, well, you're going to be in for a interesting ride. You're going to learn a whole lot in this experience.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. So one more time, I'm going to give you guys the opportunity. Why don't you this time give me your email addresses? Give the people the email address if they have any questions for you, Kenny, with the mentorship program, or Clark with the youth mentorship program. Give them your email address so they know how to get a hold of you.
Perfect. Yeah, and again, shameless plug. Go get that 29 Degrees, because Eric's book, a great St. Patty's Day gift, right? You need that.
Yes,
So yeah,
absolutely.
you can find me at K Wilcox. That's KWILCOX at chaffeecounty.org.
And you can find me at C Quattrocchi. That's CQUATTROCCHI at chaffeecounty.org.
You can see why Eric was, having fun with Clark's last name there. So
Yeah,
It's good.
I try to be prepared. I try to be ready. And Clark, I've never had to say your last name. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
come and say, "Hey, Clark, Quattrocchi." I don't say it. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going through, what we're doing. I'm like, okay, this is tongue twister for me. You're gonna have to give me some grace.
Yeah, of course. No worries. And it's all good.
That's why he was Mr. Q at the library at the school.
That's right.
So.
Yeah.
I'm liking it. I'm liking that. That's gonna be the main thing now. Mr. Q. What's up, Q? Okay, so tell me a little bit more. Is there anything you feel like we missed that's really important about what we've been discussing today, as it relates to the uplifting of youth through mentorship?
Clark's looking at his notes. I think he's got something.
Nothing's really coming up. I think one of the things I kind of would like to ask you, Eric, is when you think about mentors and you think about becoming a mentor, I think just about anyone, when they think back on life, they had certain adult figures in their life that really supported them or kind of made an impact on who they are today. And it's kind of a nice reflective question of who might have been a great mentor in your life, in your upbringing, Eric.
It was my story is complex, right? Being a person of color and I just had this discussion with someone. Um, I was basically kind of raised as a second class citizen. So, there and it's because and this is not blame on my parents. It's kind of an indictment on this culture and society we live in, and the history of all that. But my parents early in my life really felt themselves second class citizens as African Americans. And so I was raised as that. And, my dad had a hard life. And because of some of those things, life was a little bit hard on us. One of the things that I talk about and I go to my parents first is even in spite of that, one of the things I got from my dad was he was a postman for the post office in Detroit. Winters were brutal. He was up at 4:30 every day, didn't miss a day of work, working 6 days a week. And so any work ethic that I have is attributed to him. And
Yeah.
that would be mentorship in a way. With my mom, she read me Kahil Kabran, the prophet, when I was 8 years old because I couldn't do Mother Goose. I was like, get that Mother Goose away from me. And then she's like, well, let's try this. And she read to me Kahil Kabran on children, and I was into that spiritual life from that moment on. And she was just a spiritual light that way, right? She didn't know the way out of that mentality that kind of kept a cap on what they felt like they could achieve and be. But she knew there was a brighter path. She knew that there was a bigger path, and she was one to point the way and let me know that there was a possibility beyond that which we were living through. And so those were the first two. And then, my brother has been a force in my life. He, I mean, he's just a rock. I mean, he's just the rock of the family right now. He's in Detroit still, and the family just kind of orbits around him because he's just a solid human who cares for people. Family's the most important thing, and I got that from him as well. And then, when I had some challenges as a young person, my mom introduced me to a man called Rudy, and he was a therapist, and he he really pointed me to the power I had in me. And that's why I think the work that I try to uplift and advocate for is one that really is adults leading the way, mentoring, and really pointing a light back at those youth as to their intrinsic value, regardless of what they have experienced, that that the adults can show them, yeah, and you're bigger than this. And we know it could be hard sometimes, but I'm here to walk with you. I'm here to show you how wonderful you can be and what your potential is, and walk with you as long as I can until you actually can take that on for yourself, right? And so it's just a lot of influences I came across, and at different ages and periods of my life. I mean, some of the strongest mentors that I had were later in life when I was really getting in trouble, and they
Yeah.
really shine the light at me and says, "Hey, dude, yeah, you can be that, but I see something different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
I see greatness. I see the spiritual justice show in you." Well, they didn't
Right.
say that, but I see full circle restorative justice in you. You know what I mean? It's just like, and so all through life, I think it's important for us to have people that we can look up to, and especially in those formative years when we're really learning how to become human. I mean, that's one of the conversations that goes on with the schools with me all the time when we talk about restorative justice. And restorative justice not just as a reaction to harm, um, and not being punitive about it, but restorative practices in a connection vehicle of how to build inclusion and belonging for all of those students in a climate that helps to identify their unique and special abilities so that everybody gets the opportunity for that. And some of the things we suggest to the schools, they go, okay, yeah, but we don't have time for that because we
Yeah.
got to get through this content and we got to do math and we got to do social studies and we got to do, whatever, language arts. And there's the content, and I get it. I appreciate that. And my argument and pushback is, to me, the most important thing is their humanity. And if we can implant that in them in our school system first, all that other stuff is going to be even more effectively taken on by them because they're ready for it, right? So that's my long-winded answer to that question.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean, you bring up a great point there, Eric. Is just, we might not always call mentor. It might be mom, might be dad, might be grandpa, might be grandma, might be therapist, my coach, whatever it might be. Again, I think that's where a lot of us can resonate and connect with, is we've had those people. Sometimes maybe it wasn't exactly when we wanted it in life or could have used it, but those people that are like calling out again, those things they see in us and supporting us to walk forward in that direction.
All right. They said a long time ago to me, if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And time flies by when you're having fun. And you guys today, we're bringing it to a close now. We're wrapping up. My heart is sinking because this has been such a joy talking to you guys today. Any last words before we sign off on the show today?
Where'd the time go, man? It's to this time warp on the Spiritual Justice Show.
Yeah. My lesson here, and one of the reasons I'm so grateful for you guys being on with me today, is you are on the leading edge of mentorship, which I feel is the most important aspect of us transforming this society that we have into something better, and that is more helpful and caring for all of its citizens. Because what you're doing is you're showing those young people that you work with that there is care, there is concern, that they matter, and that what they are and who they are is important for the rest of us. So thank you again so much for your work. One more shout out. Give them your email addresses, and then I'm going to sign out.
Sounds really good, Eric. And I think the only thing I'll add, because I don't think there's much that needs to be added at this point. But again, I just, as an encouragement to anybody out there listening, is you don't have to wait for your life to be like perfectly in order and to jump into something like this. I appreciate, people take this commitment seriously. That's great. But that time's probably not ever going to show up where things are perfect. And in fact, we don't want you coming in perfect. We want you coming in just as you are, because who you are is going to match up with, really well with this other young person who's just as diverse and interesting as you are. So here it is again. K Wilcox, KWILCOX at chaffeecounty.org. You can also call me on the business phone here, 719-530-2581, or just stop by and pay us a visit here at the Tauber building or in our office in Buena Vista across from the library.
Even if you're not sure, come find us, come reach out to us. We're happy to take you out to coffee and give you a rundown on the program. And at worst, that creates another advocate for the program in the community. So please reach out.
We're suckers for coffee shop work. So
all right, sounds good. And so am I. This is Eric Lee. You have been watching the Spiritual Justice Show. Find me at Spiritual Justice on Facebook. You can find me at fullcirclerj.org, or just go to the website, fullcirclerj.org. We look forward to seeing you next time on another exciting show of the Spiritual Justice Show. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thanks,
Thank
Eric.
you.
Thank you for joining me, Eric S. Lee, on the Spiritual Justice Show. You've heard me say it before. Restorative justice alone can't get us there. Repairing a wound matters, but if the system keeps cutting, the wounds return. Social justice fights for equity, but if we forget the human spirit, policy feels hollow. Transformative justice shifts culture, but without compassion, the changes just don't last. That's why spiritual justice completes the circle. It heals the heart while changing the system. It restores dignity while shifting culture. It brings spirit back into justice. And that's where you come in. Tune in each first and third Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time on the Transformation Network as we rise up, spiritual justice warriors. This means you choosing courage, compassion, and creativity in a call to action. Until next time, walk with courage, lead with compassion, live with spirit, because justice begins here in the soul, and it continues with warriors like us. Join our community at spiritualjustice.net.